Hey sketchy friends, so in today's video I want to show you my sketch outing to sketch this beautiful historic landmark called the Rand Club here in Johannesburg. But there is a twist. I am going to be using a grocery bag. This is a Checkers 60/60 bag, and if any of you have watched one of my previous videos, which I'll link up here, you will see that I am currently doing a personal project where I'm sketching scenes of Johannesburg on these Checkers 60/60 grocery bags that are kind of synonymous with online grocery shopping here in South Africa. But they're great bags. They're paper bags, and the reverse side of them, i.e. not the branded side, is actually really nice to sketch on. So my overall aim is to sketch 60 scenes of Johannesburg on location on these Checkers 60/60 bags. They're called 60/60 because they promise to deliver your groceries within 60 minutes, which they always do, if not like 20 minutes. It's crazy. Anyway, so this is number 16, I think, out of 60. And I say I think because sometimes it's hard to keep track because most of them have required 2 sittings. So it requires me to be in that location twice, and I can't always do that day after day. So sometimes it's 2 weeks before I can get back to the same location to sketch again. And in that time, I may have gone to another location and started another one. So it's quite tricky to keep track of which one is which. But I believe this is 16 out of 60. I'm really hoping to hit 20 before the end of the year, just so I've got a third of the project done, but we'll see how I go. So yeah, I just want you guys to kick back really and check this out, get a little glimpse of Johannesburg CBD, take a look at this beautiful, beautiful members only club in Johannesburg, which is one of the oldest buildings in the city, and just hang out and see some of my process. Quite a relaxed video. I'll chat to you about some of the things I'm doing as we go, but just want to kick back with a cup of tea or whatever and just enjoy. So Johannesburg is a surprisingly young city. It was founded in 1886 when gold was discovered on the Highveld. Almost overnight it became a boomtown, drawing people from all over the world. It grew fast, chaotically, and with a mix of hope, industry and inequality that still shapes the city today. It's a place built on layers of stories, ambition and constant reinvention. The Rand Club is in the heart of Johannesburg CBD, an area well known to be sketchy, but like not in the way I usually use that word. And the Rand Club is one of Johannesburg's oldest institutions, founded back in 1887 during the gold rush era. And walking inside feels a bit like slipping into the city's past. The dark wood, the brass lamps, the old portraits, everything has this quiet sense of history. It used to be the gathering place for mining magnates and adventurers, the people who shaped early Joburg, and now it's part social club, part time capsule, and it still carries that old world atmosphere. I've always wanted to sketch here, and today I really feel like it's the perfect chance, especially for my Checkers bag project. There's something I love about pairing a place this grand with such an everyday throwaway material. It feels just right for Johannesburg. And we have a special invite to get inside this otherwise private space, which is usually only open to paying members. However, one of our members of Urban Sketchers Johannesburg, Fiverr, was having an exhibition here for the whole of November, so she got us inside to sketch, and I knew it was the perfect opportunity to knock it off my list of locations that I really want to draw on the grocery bags. Massive thanks to Fiverr, and it was really cool to see her exhibition. She's been working on these pieces for 6 years or so. There was just so much beautiful work there. And, you know, if you're in Johannesburg and you see this, the exhibition I think is only just still on, so you can still get there and take a look. So these 3 ships you can see hanging from the ceiling are also part of Fiverr's exhibition, and also a fabric covering over the dome there, which are all going to form part of my sketch later on in the video. And just moving back downstairs onto the ground floor, this part is open to the public on the ground floor because they've got this beautiful bar area. And this is the longest bar in Africa. So what a claim to fame, hey? It wraps all the way around this beautiful restaurant area. Really beautiful place to just hang out and have a drink and something to eat. So back up to the first floor, where really it is the showstopper, to be honest with you. I'm going to get started with sketching on the grocery bag. So I've got quite a big space here. I'd say it's maybe an A3-ish kind of size, maybe slightly longer and thinner than A3. It's always hard to know where to start, really. So I am using my pencil, but it's really difficult in the lighting that I'm sitting in to actually see what's going on. And because the main source of light is coming through that dome, it's a somewhat overcast day. Every time the clouds roll over, the light goes. So it was actually very difficult. A friend of mine who was sketching out of shot did offer me a white pencil to sketch with, and at the time I dismissed it. I was like, no, it's fine. But actually interesting, on the next sketch I do on the checkers bag, which is of a mosque, I had her voice in my head saying something about a white pencil, and I did start that sketch with a white pencil. It was much easier to see, actually. And funnily enough, you can still erase it from the bag, so it's not, there's not white pencil marks all over the place. So I might actually do that from now onwards, depending on the situation. But yeah, for something like this, I mean, it's a really tricky scene, as you saw during the walkabout. There's like posts everywhere, there's staircases sweeping, there's lots of decorative elements, cornices, etc., etc. If it's interesting for you guys, I have found a new way to film a sort of point of view sketching. So some of you might be watching this going like, what? How the hell is she filming this? I'm actually using a neck mount. So just like a collar neck mount thing that goes around your neck, which I can attach either an action camera to or a phone to. So I think that's really useful. This is the first time I've used it, and I was quite happy with how this footage came out. So be interested to hear your thoughts if this is a nice view for you guys to sort of see little bits of me sketching. I didn't record the entire thing for various reasons. Again, I don't know if this is interesting to you guys or not really, but I was using a GoPro. The GoPros do run out of battery quite quickly if you're just using them for constant recording, which I was quite surprised at actually when I first bought it. I've got the Hero 10, again, if that's of interest to anybody. And they do overheat, but luckily this was inside and outside of the sunshine. But in South Africa in general, that's if you're outside recording, it can be a bit of a pain. It does get quite hot. But otherwise, I think the quality of the footage is quite nice. And yeah, I was quite happy with how it came out. I think if I'm drawing on my lap, then this is going to be much easier to get into shot. But for once, funnily enough, I'm actually drawing at a table, which doesn't often happen. So the piece that I'm drawing is like a little more elevated. So I think that was what was making the angle a little tricky. But yeah, so I just decided to record sort of moments of this sketch just to give you an idea of how it started to shape up. And I'm making lots of decisions as I go with this sketch, because I'm definitely not sketching everything, because that would be an absolute nightmare. So it's really an exercise in choosing what to sketch and what not to sketch. And I'm trying to think about the shapes that I'm making on the page and sort of the composition / perspective of it drawing the eye in. I'm saying that now, but a lot of this was sort of intuitive decisions that I can look back at now and be like, oh, I understand why I made that decision. So that sweeping banister in the foreground, for example, is a really nice shape. I really wanted to focus on the dome and the ships. That's what happened to be there at the time. So it's really nice kind of capturing this moment in time that Fiverr has this particular exhibition where she has been allowed to create pieces to actually hang in this main area, which was really, really cool. And I just love them as well. I think they're really awesome. And I just think it's really interesting visually. It just really adds some sort of points of focus other than just the amazing room itself and just the dome, because there's writing on the fabric. They're all kind of, is pseudonyms the right word? They're all kind of alternative words for art pieces that are, or artifacts that are sitting in museums that have been basically taken from where they originated from. So for example, like there's words like acquire and gifted and donated and things like that in each different section of the dome. So it refers to, the exhibition is about colonialism, so it refers to kind of artifacts from other countries being placed in museums, let's say in Britain and the States and other countries like that. As you can see, I've done most of the drawing. I started in pencil just to get some of the basic shapes in, and then moved to just a fine liner. I think I was using mainly a 0.4 and a 0.5 for this sketch because it's quite a large piece of paper. I didn't want to use anything too thin. I wanted to use like a nice bold line. And you'll see I've got pops of white in there already because that really does help sort of things start to pop off the page. So even if I'm not completely finished drawing, I do like to get some white on the page just to stop it looking so flat, and it just kind of gives me another wave of excitement for the drawing, really. It's just to keep myself motivated. And then, as you can see, I had my colour pencils there and I'm starting to add a few things, but otherwise my 3 hours was up and I needed to leave. I was actually getting a lift home. Hence, I could do all this filming out of the passenger window for you of Johannesburg. You know, I think a lot of people hear things about Johannesburg on the news, in the media, that kind of thing. So I thought it was interesting for you guys just to see a little snapshot of the CBD. It's actually looking, these bits I'm showing you actually look quite like reasonably nice at the moment, but we are, at the time of filming, it was 1.5 weeks before the G20 summit. And the big old cleanup job was underway just to try and make the city somewhat presentable to all of the international visitors. So make of that what you will. Anyway, so this is probably like a nicer section of the city. There are definitely some bits that you probably wouldn't want to linger for too long. But yeah, I just thought it might be interesting for you guys to see this. So we're heading out of the city now, back home. And all of these white minibuses you're seeing, they're all like taxis. So they're kind of like the public transport that people use because we don't really have much. Well, we don't have any public transport. Right in the CBD, there's some buses, but otherwise to get to other bits of the city, you need to take those minibuses really. And this is Nelson Mandela Bridge here with the nice white struts that you can see. Just recently been repainted and it's looking all nice and beautiful at the moment. And we take a right and we're going into an area called Braamfontein, which is quite an artsy area, very, very cool and quite studenty, a nice section. So that was my first visit. 2 weeks later now, after the G20 summit, I'm back. I've got my coffee. And I had filled in some of these posts at home. I just needed to see something extra on there. So I did do that at home just to get some grey on there, get the markers on there, see what it was going to look like. These are the words that I was talking about earlier in the dome. So I'm just writing them in with a white gel pen at this point. This is a Uniball Signo broad, if anyone's interested, because I know white gel pens are the bane of most people's lives. And then I went around them, I outlined them with a black pen just to make them really stand out. And then I'm just using an ivory coloured Faber-Castell Polychromos to colour in the areas around the words. I'm pretty much using Faber-Castell Polychromos on the drawing, certainly for all of the lighter kind of ivory colours. And then I've also got Faber-Castell Pitt Artist pens, which are nice because they're not alcohol markers. They've got India ink in them. So they have a degree of transparency, hence that sort of post on the left-hand side there looking a bit streaky because they do have that transparent nature. They're just not as hardcore as the alcohol markers, which I do suspect would go through this paper. Yeah, it'd just be a bit too heavy, I think. So I have gone with the Pitt Artist pens, which are generally what I usually have around with me anyway, the brush versions. because they work really nicely in conjunction with watercolor as well. And for some of the solid white areas, I do actually use a white correction pen, like a Tipex, like a whiteout pen. So here I'm just trying to decide whether to shade in this table and chair at the bottom here, because I'm feeling like it needs a bit more tone down there, and it might make a really nice kind of L-shaped composition. It might sort of bring it all together a bit more if I add those sort of tones in. You've got the lighter tones at the top with the dome, and then these darker areas now at the bottom. And I am glad that I did sit there and agonize for a while whether I should shade in the table and the chair, but now I'm looking at it, I am glad I did that, because I do think it sort of brings the eye down and across the page a bit. And then I decided, okay, maybe I should put in some of these decorative banisters next to me as well, because it might just look a little bit empty down here otherwise. So I'm just doing that very, very roughly. It's not exactly what's there. I'm just doing sort of a bit more of a simplified version, really. I just don't want to overpower the bottom of the sketch with too much detail, because I really want to keep the focus at the top of the sketch where the ships and the dome are. So again, just using an ivory coloured pencil here, just to give a little shimmer to the top of the banisters, just to show that they're sort of got a bit of a reflective surface. But otherwise, that's pretty much it. I've powered through that, but that was 2 sittings of about 3 hours each, more or less. But a lot of that time is me thinking or maybe talking, because there are other people around who are sketching that you can't see in the shot. But yeah, so that is my finished sketch. I'm really happy with like the composition and stuff of this one. So I really like that the lightest parts are at the top with the ships and the dome, and then just the way the banister curves into the corner and the tone sort of, peters off at the bottom. I think it's quite nice. So this is the reverse side. This is the Checkers 60/60 grocery bag. And yeah, I'm really, really happy with that sketch. So that is number 16 of number 60. I hope you enjoyed coming along with me for this little sketch vlog and seeing a little bit of Johannesburg and this beautiful building called the Rand Club. Hopefully I'll be able to share some more of these types of videos with you in the future. Do let me know in the comments below if it was something you enjoyed, and I will endeavour to film more of them.